Listen closely. Not because this message is loud, but because it is precise. There is a reason you paused here. There is a reason your heart felt a slight tightening when you read that title. This is not coincidence. This is interception. Right now, God is standing between you and something you cannot yet see. Not punishment. Protection. There is a man around you, close enough to know your patterns, distant enough to hide his intentions. He smiles when others are watching. He listens more than he speaks. And inside him lives a jealousy he does not know how to silence. This is not the kind of jealousy that explodes. It is the quiet kind. The kind that studies. The kind that waits. God is not exposing this to frighten you. He is revealing it to shield you. You have felt it before, haven't you? That sudden heaviness after certain conversations. That strange resistance when progress was just about to happen. That unexplained delay that felt personal. You questioned yourself. You wondered if you were imagining things. You told yourself to stay kind, to stay silent, to stay patient. But heaven has been watching what you could not. There is a man who does not hate you openly, because hatred would be too obvious. Instead, he envies the light you carry without trying. He envies the favor that finds you without permission. He envies the peace you return to, even after storms. And here is the part that will touch your heart deeply. He does not want to become like you. He wants to slow you. God does not allow his chosen ones to be slowed without warning. That is why this message found you before the situation escalated. That is why confusion is being replaced with clarity right now. That is why discernment is awakening in your spirit. You are not losing people. You are being separated from interference. This man's jealousy is rooted in comparison. He compared your journey to his own. He compared your timing to his delays. He compared your breakthroughs to his stagnation. And comparison became resentment. But hear this clearly. Jealousy has no authority where God's protection stands. You may not know his name yet, but your spirit already recognizes the pattern, the subtle competitiveness, the disguised concern, the indirect discouragement wrapped in advice. God is training your awareness, not your fear. Because the moment you see clearly, the plan loses its power. You were never meant to confront this man. You were meant to outgrow his access. That is why doors are shifting. That is why conversations feel different. That is why certain connections are quietly losing intensity. God is rearranging your environment. He is removing the audience that claps with hidden motives. He is silencing the voices that smile but inwardly resist your rise. And here is the truth that will settle your heart. Nothing meant to harm you will succeed. Nothing fueled by jealousy can outrun divine timing. You are protected in ways you cannot yet measure. This message is not a warning of danger, it is confirmation of coverage. God has already stepped in. The interception has already happened. What could have delayed you has been blocked. Stay attentive. Stay grounded. Stay moving forward without explanation. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to defend your path. You do not need to reveal what God is doing in you. Silence is part of your safety right now. And as this unfolds, you will notice peace replacing pressure, clarity replacing confusion, and confidence replacing doubt. Because when God protects you from jealousy, He does not just remove the threat, He elevates your discernment. This is only the beginning. What I am about to say will explain something you have felt but never fully understood. There is a reason God did not remove this jealous man immediately. There is a reason the separation is gradual. There is a reason silence, not exposure, is being used. Because this situation is not just about him. It is about sharpening you. Jealousy does not always come from strangers. Most of the time, it grows close enough to observe your routines, close enough to hear your plans, close enough to feel threatened by your future before it arrives. This man watched you receive favor without force. He noticed how doors opened for you with ease. He saw how people trusted you naturally. And instead of learning, he compared. That comparison became a quiet obsession. Here is the shocking truth most people never realize. Jealous people do not want what you have. They want the version of you that has less. So they speak doubt disguised as concern. They delay disguised as patience. They influence disguised as advice. And you almost listened. Not because you were weak, but because you were kind. God saw that kindness becoming a vulnerability. That is why he stepped in before the damage became visible. You may have noticed strange shifts lately. Plans changing at the last moment. People revealing themselves without saying much. Opportunities redirecting instead of closing. This is not disruption. This is divine filtration. God is separating you from interference without noise. The jealous man is confused right now. He senses distance but cannot explain it. He feels access slipping but does not know why. He tries to read you, but you are no longer readable. That is protection. Because once jealousy realizes it has lost influence, it has no choice but to expose itself or retreat. And God prefers retreat. You were never meant to confront energy like this. You were meant to rise above it. This is why you are being instructed, quietly, to keep certain things private. Not everyone needs to know your next move. Not everyone deserves insight into your timing. Not everyone should be present during your growth. Privacy is not secrecy. It is strategy. What makes this moment once in a lifetime is this: God is not only protecting you, He is upgrading your discernment permanently. After this season, you will recognize intentions faster, feel misalignment sooner, and trust your inner signals without guilt. This is a turning point. The jealous man will not disappear dramatically. He will simply lose relevance. His words will no longer affect you. His presence will no longer carry weight. And that is the most powerful form of release. Because when God removes influence, He does not leave confusion behind. You are being positioned among people who celebrate your rise without comparison. You are being aligned with environments where your growth feels natural. You are being prepared for visibility without vulnerability. Stay steady. Do not explain your silence. Do not justify your distance. Do not feel guilty for choosing peace over familiarity. This is not isolation. This is elevation with intention. What tried to slow you has already been neutralized. What watched you closely no longer has access. What envied you has been outgrown. And as you continue watching, you will notice something powerful. You are calmer, more focused, less affected. That is the evidence. The protection is active. The separation is working. And the next part will reveal why this moment had to happen now, not later. Stay with this. This is where everything becomes clear. The timing of this message is not random. It is precise. It is intentional. It is protective. God revealed this now because something important is approaching your life. Something that would have attracted attention. Something that would have intensified jealousy if it remained unseen. You are standing at the edge of a shift. The jealous man sensed it before you did. That is how jealousy works. It recognizes movement early. He felt your momentum changing. He noticed your energy becoming focused. He realized you were no longer struggling the way you once were. And that realization disturbed him. Because when someone grows quietly, it removes the illusion of control. Here is the once in a lifetime truth most people never hear. Not every delay in your past was failure. Some delays were protection from being influenced at the wrong level. If you had risen earlier, this man would have had more access, more influence, more ability to distract. God delayed the elevation until the separation was ready. That is why this season feels different. You are moving forward with fewer explanations. You are less emotionally available to opinions. You are listening more to inner clarity than outer noise. This is not detachment. This is alignment. The jealous man tried to stay relevant by staying close. But closeness without alignment always fades. You may notice he speaks less now, or speaks differently, or feels unsure around you. That discomfort is not yours to fix, because what is happening now is spiritual distancing. God is quietly closing doors that no longer serve your future, while opening paths that require focus, not approval. And this is important, listen carefully. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be protected from the few who misunderstood you intentionally. Your heart is not naive. It is discerning, and it is learning. After this moment, you will stop over-explaining. You will stop justifying your instincts. You will stop shrinking to maintain harmony. Peace will become non-negotiable. This is how you know protection is active. You feel lighter without knowing exactly why. You feel clearer without force. You feel stronger without resistance. The jealous man's influence is dissolving, not through confrontation, but through irrelevance. And soon, you will look back and realize nothing dramatic needed to happen for everything to change. This message reached you before confusion could, before doubt could grow, before interference could touch what is coming. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Stay focused. The next part will reveal what God is positioning you toward, now that the interference is being removed. Do not leave yet. Now listen carefully, because this is the turning point. Everything God removed from around you was not taken away to leave a void. It was cleared to make room. What is ahead of you requires focus, not familiarity. It requires strength, not sympathy. It requires clarity, not constant explanation. This is why the jealous man could not remain nearby. What God is positioning you toward cannot grow in an environment of quiet resistance. Favor needs space. Peace needs clean air. Progress needs freedom from comparison. And here is the revelation that will stay with you long after this video ends. Jealousy does not attack when you are weak. It reacts when you are about to rise. The timing exposed the truth. God did not warn you late. He warned you just before acceleration. That means something significant is aligning. Something you have prayed for without words. Something you prepared for without realizing it. Your mindset has shifted. Your tolerance has changed. Your vision has sharpened. That is not coincidence. That is readiness. The jealous man was removed because the next season requires trust, not testing. It requires collaboration, not comparison. It requires people who celebrate your growth without secretly measuring themselves against it. God is placing you among those who do not compete with you, because they are secure in their own calling. And here is what makes this moment rare. You were protected before the breakthrough, not after it. Most people only understand protection in hindsight. You are understanding it in advance. That means you will walk forward lighter. You will move faster. You will make decisions with confidence instead of hesitation. You will no longer second-guess your instincts. You will no longer ignore subtle discomfort. You will no longer shrink to keep peace. Peace will keep you. The jealous energy that once lingered around you has lost access completely, not because you fought it, but because you outgrew it. And from this point on, your environment will reflect your elevation. You will notice conversations becoming clearer, opportunities becoming cleaner, connections becoming calmer. That is the result of divine alignment. You are not behind. You are not late. You are precisely where protection meets promotion. Remember this feeling. Remember this clarity. Because from here forward, you walk protected, aware, and unbothered. And nothing meant to slow you will walk with you into what comes next. This is where the message becomes personal. Because now, God is not just protecting your future, He is correcting your awareness. There was a time when you blamed yourself for certain outcomes. You questioned your decisions. You wondered why progress felt interrupted even when your intentions were pure. But here is the revelation that changes everything. Some resistance did not come from your choices. It came from proximity. Not everyone close to you wanted you harmed, but one presence did not want you accelerated. That jealous man never planned openly. He influenced subtly, through tone, through timing, through moments of hesitation planted quietly. And still, you moved forward. That is why heaven intervened now. Because despite interference, you kept rising. God does not remove protection from those who remain sincere under pressure. You did not lose momentum. You gained wisdom. And now, something remarkable is happening within you. You are no longer emotionally reactive. You no longer feel the need to explain your vision. You no longer seek validation from environments that drain clarity. That inner shift is the evidence. This is what protection looks like when it matures into strength. The jealous man's role in your story is already ending. Not with conflict, not with confrontation, but with distance that feels natural and irreversible. Soon, you will notice how little his presence matters. How quiet your mind feels without certain voices. How smooth your decisions become without external pressure. That is freedom. And freedom is dangerous only to jealousy, never to destiny. What is ahead of you requires emotional stability. It requires discernment without suspicion. It requires confidence without arrogance. That is why this process happened before the breakthrough. Because what God is preparing to entrust to you cannot coexist with divided environments. You are stepping into a phase where peace is productive, where focus attracts opportunity, where clarity creates momentum. This is not hype. This is alignment. And as you move forward, remember this truth. Protection does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it feels like relief. Sometimes it feels like silence. Sometimes it feels like finally being able to breathe. That is what you are experiencing now. You were never meant to carry unnecessary weight. You were never meant to explain your worth. You were never meant to be slowed by someone else's insecurity. You are walking lighter because interference has been removed. You are thinking clearer because influence has been cut off. You are moving forward because protection has already done its work. Stay present. Stay steady. Stay aware. What comes next will feel earned, peaceful, and undeniable. And nothing rooted in jealousy will ever find access to you again. Now pay close attention, because this is the quiet victory. Most people never realize when protection has already worked. They keep waiting for proof, waiting for signs, waiting for something dramatic to happen. But God's most effective protection is subtle. It does not shake the room. It rearranges the atmosphere. You are not where you used to be emotionally. That alone is evidence. Think back carefully. There was a time when certain opinions lingered in your mind. Certain comments stayed longer than they should have. Certain energies affected your confidence without permission. That influence is gone. And here is the shocking truth that seals this moment. The jealous man has already lost interest in interfering, because he no longer recognizes you. You changed quietly. Your responses shortened. Your reactions softened. Your attention shifted inward. Jealousy cannot operate where access is denied. This is why God allowed distance to form naturally. No drama. No explanation. No confrontation. Just alignment. You were protected not by force, but by elevation. And elevation changes perspective. What once felt intimidating now feels irrelevant. What once felt heavy now feels distant. What once demanded your attention no longer qualifies. That is growth with authority. The jealous man never expected you to mature past influence. He expected reaction. He expected delay. He expected hesitation. Instead, you chose stillness. And stillness confused the plan. This is why peace is your new power. Peace sharpens intuition. Peace strengthens discernment. Peace attracts clarity. You are no longer available for manipulation. Not because you hardened your heart, but because you strengthened your boundaries. That is divine maturity. And here is what happens next, whether you notice it immediately or not. Your confidence becomes quiet. Your decisions become faster. Your focus becomes unshakable. Opportunities begin to align without struggle. People respond differently to you. Rooms feel smaller, because you have outgrown them. This is not pride. This is readiness. God does not protect what is stagnant. He protects what is moving with purpose. And you are moving. What once watched you closely can no longer reach you. What once studied your steps can no longer predict your direction. Because you are not walking the same path anymore. You are walking with awareness. And awareness is the end of interference. Stay grounded in this clarity. Do not rush. Do not announce. Do not explain. Your calm will speak louder than any words. The final part will reveal how to remain permanently protected without fear, without tension, and without losing your gentle heart. Stay here. This is the closing seal. What God has done for you is not temporary protection. It is permanent awareness. From this point forward, you will no longer attract jealousy the same way, not because you became invisible, but because you became unreachable. Jealousy feeds on access, on reaction, on emotional availability. You have closed all three without force. That is why this chapter ends quietly. You will not need confirmation from the outside. You will not need validation from people who once watched you closely. You will not need explanations for why certain connections faded. You already know. The moment you stopped reacting, the moment you stopped adjusting yourself to keep peace, the moment you chose inner clarity over outer approval, the cycle ended. Here is the once-in-a-lifetime truth that few people ever hear. God does not just remove jealous people. He upgrades your frequency so they cannot stay. That is what happened. Your spirit matured. Your awareness sharpened. Your tolerance refined. Now, anyone who carries comparison instead of celebration will feel uncomfortable around you, not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped dimming who you were becoming. And this is the gift hidden inside this entire experience. You did not lose your softness. You did not lose your kindness. You did not lose your humility. You gained discernment. That means you can remain gentle without remaining vulnerable. You can remain open without being exposed. You can remain loving without being influenced. This is balance. This is strength. This is protection that lasts. As you move forward, your life will feel quieter but fuller. Your circle will feel smaller but stronger. Your path will feel clearer but more powerful. Nothing will need to be announced. Nothing will need to be proven. Nothing will need to be defended. Because what is protected does not compete. It progresses. You were never meant to fight jealousy. You were meant to outgrow it. And now you have. Carry this awareness with you, not as fear, but as wisdom. Because from this moment on, nothing rooted in jealousy will ever walk beside you again. Stay with me, because this is the final layer of understanding. What happened was not only protection from a jealous man, it was preparation for a different level of life. God did not just move someone away. He moved you forward internally. That is why things feel quieter now. That is why you feel less pulled, less distracted, less emotionally reactive. That is why you no longer feel the need to explain your silence. This is not emptiness. This is space. And space is where clarity grows. Here is the shocking truth most people never realize until it is too late. Jealousy can only follow you into the next season if you carry it emotionally. You did not. You released it without confrontation. You outgrew it without bitterness. You walked away without announcement. That is rare. That is why this moment matters. From now on, your life will respond differently to your presence. People will sense your boundaries without you stating them. Energy will adjust itself around you automatically. Situations that once drained you will no longer form. This is discernment operating silently. The jealous man is no longer part of your awareness. Not because you are avoiding him, but because your attention has evolved. Attention is power, and you have learned where not to place it. You will notice that future connections feel cleaner. Conversations feel lighter. Decisions feel calmer. That is because God did not just remove a person, He refined your perception. Now you will recognize misalignment early, not with suspicion, not with fear, but with certainty. And certainty does not argue. You are entering a phase where peace becomes your filter. Anything that disturbs it will feel obvious. Anything that supports it will feel natural. That is lasting protection. Remember this moment when life begins to move faster, when opportunities arrive without tension, when your confidence feels quiet but unshakable. This is where it started, not with noise, not with conflict, but with awareness. You were never in danger. You were being refined. And now, you walk forward lighter, clearer, and protected, not because you are guarded, but because you are wise. Carry that wisdom with you. It will guide you further than fear ever could. This is the moment where everything settles into truth. Not excitement. Not fear. Truth. What God protected you from was not chaos. It was contamination. Because jealousy does not always destroy loudly. Sometimes it erodes quietly. Confidence first, clarity next, momentum last. But you were interrupted before erosion could begin. That is the revelation. You did not lose anything valuable. You lost exposure to what could have weakened you over time. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime understanding that changes how you walk forward. Protection is not about hiding you from the world. It is about refining who is allowed to walk beside you. From this point on, your life will respond differently to your presence. You will notice fewer explanations are required. Fewer justifications are needed. Fewer emotional negotiations take place. Because your alignment speaks before you do. You will no longer mistake familiarity for loyalty. You will no longer confuse attention with support. You will no longer tolerate subtle resistance disguised as concern. Not because you became suspicious, but because you became clear. And clarity is calm. The jealous man does not matter anymore. Not because he changed, but because you did. Your growth has made his position irrelevant. That is how God closes chapters. Without drama, without exposure, without residue. Only resolution. As you move forward, remember this feeling of quiet strength. This grounded awareness. This inner certainty that does not need applause. Because this is how you stay protected. You listen inward. You move intentionally. You keep peace as a priority, not a reward. What is meant for you will not compete with jealousy. What is aligned with you will not require tension. What is destined for you will arrive without manipulation. This message did not come to alarm you. It came to anchor you. So walk forward steady. Walk forward aware. Walk forward unbothered. Nothing meant to delay you has access anymore. And what is coming next will meet you without resistance. 8. This is the final imprint. Not a warning. Not a prediction. A confirmation. What God protected you from never stood a chance once awareness arrived. Because awareness changes trajectory. You are not the same person who started listening to this message. Something subtle has locked into place within you. A calm certainty. A grounded knowing. That is the mark of completion. Here is the truth that most people never reach. When God removes jealousy from around you, He does not replace it with noise, He replaces it with direction. From now on, your steps will feel intentional. Your pauses will feel purposeful. Your silence will feel powerful. You will no longer be drawn into unnecessary explanations. You will no longer revisit spaces that once drained you. You will no longer question instincts that arrive quietly but clearly, because protection has matured into wisdom. The jealous man is no longer part of the narrative, not even as a memory that carries weight. He exits without significance, because his role has expired. And that is how God closes cycles for those who grow correctly, without scars, without bitterness, without residue. Only clarity. What comes next will feel different from past chapters. Less struggle, more alignment, less resistance, more flow. Not because life becomes effortless, but because interference no longer follows you. You will recognize the right people faster. You will sense the right moments earlier. You will move without hesitation when alignment appears. This is not coincidence. This is protection that learned how to last. Carry this awareness forward, not as caution, but as confidence. You are not guarded. You are grounded. And grounded people are not shaken by jealousy, because they are anchored in purpose. This message ends here, but what it activated continues. Walk forward calmly. Walk forward clearly. Walk forward protected. Nothing behind you has access. Nothing ahead of you carries resistance. You are free to move without looking back. Stay present, because this part completes the circle. What you experienced was not just a season passing. It was a pattern ending. Some cycles repeat until awareness breaks them. Yours has been broken. God did not just protect you from a jealous man, He protected you from repeating the same lesson in a different face. That is why this feels final. That is why nothing inside you feels unsettled anymore. That is why there is no urge to go back, explain, or reconnect. Completion brings quiet. Here is the revelation few people ever receive. When jealousy loses access once, it never returns in the same form. Because you are no longer compatible with it. Your standards have shifted internally. Your tolerance has recalibrated. Your spirit now recognizes imbalance instantly. You will not attract the same dynamic again. This is growth that cannot be undone. From now on, the people who enter your life will feel different. Their presence will not drain you. Their success will not compete with yours. Their words will not confuse your direction. That is alignment. You are stepping into relationships that respect boundaries without explanation. Into environments where peace is mutual. Into spaces where your presence is valued, not monitored. And this is important. Listen carefully. You did not lose anyone who was meant to walk into your future. You only lost those who could not walk beside your growth. Nothing was taken from you. Everything was clarified. As life continues, you will notice how little effort it takes now to stay centered, to stay focused, to stay calm. That ease is the reward. Because once protection becomes wisdom, it no longer feels like defense. It feels like direction. This is where you stand now. Not guarded. Not cautious. Aware. And awareness is freedom. Carry this forward without tension. Without fear. Without looking over your shoulder. You are not being watched anymore. You are being guided. And what is guided moves forward without resistance. This is where certainty replaces reflection. You are no longer processing what happened. You are living beyond it. That is how you know the protection was complete. There was a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when your spirit stopped scanning the past for answers. No replay. No analysis. No emotional return. That moment was the shift. God does not always announce closure. Sometimes he removes the need to look back. And that is exactly what has happened to you. Here is the revelation that seals everything. When protection finishes its work, peace no longer feels temporary. It feels normal. You are not waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are not bracing for interference. You are not watching your surroundings for hidden tension. Your nervous system knows the truth before your mind explains it. You are safe in your alignment. The jealous influence did not just leave your environment, it left your awareness. That is why your thoughts feel cleaner. That is why your decisions feel simpler. That is why your energy feels contained and strong. You are no longer leaking attention. This is the difference between surviving a situation and being refined by it. Survival makes you cautious. Refinement makes you clear. You have been refined. From this point forward, you will notice that the right things arrive without force. The right people stay without pressure. The right timing unfolds without anxiety. That is not luck. That is protection matured into flow. You are not rushing anymore. You are not hesitating anymore. You are moving when it feels right, and stopping when it does not. That balance is rare. And it is permanent. Nothing in your future requires you to revisit what God already resolved. Nothing ahead needs the approval of what was removed. Nothing coming depends on who once watched you closely. Your path is no longer shared with resistance. This is where you stand now, steady, aware, and unburdened. Not guarded, not hardened, simply aligned. Let this understanding stay with you as life unfolds, not as a memory, but as a way of being. Because from here on, your clarity protects you before anything ever gets close. This is the quiet mastery phase. Nothing is being taken from you now. Nothing is being tested. Nothing is being filtered. You are simply moving forward, clean. There is a powerful difference between being protected and knowing how to remain protected. You now know. You no longer explain your growth to people who feel uncomfortable around it. You no longer adjust your tone to keep others at ease. You no longer lower your clarity to maintain connection. That is not distance. That is discernment in motion. Here is the revelation that completes your strength. Jealousy cannot survive where self-respect is consistent. And your self-respect is now steady. You choose peace without apology. You choose focus without guilt. You choose alignment without negotiation. That choice reshapes everything. People who once watched you closely will no longer recognize the version of you walking forward. Not because you changed your heart, but because you stopped leaking access to it. This is not emotional withdrawal. This is emotional authority. Your life is no longer open for observation. It is active for participation, only by those who belong in your direction. And as days move forward, you will notice something powerful. You trust yourself more. You hesitate less. You recover faster. That is wisdom settling in. God does not protect you by making you suspicious. He protects you by making you certain. Certain of your instincts. Certain of your timing. Certain of when to speak, and when to stay silent. Nothing needs to be announced. Nothing needs to be explained. Nothing needs to be proven. Because when awareness becomes natural, protection becomes effortless. This is who you are now. Not guarded. Not cautious. Centered. And centered people do not attract jealousy. They dissolve it by simply being unmoved. Carry this forward. It will keep opening the right doors long after this message ends. This is where strength becomes natural. You are no longer trying to stay aware. Awareness is now your default state. That is the shift most people never reach. Earlier, protection felt like something happening to you. Now it feels like something moving through you. You notice things early, not with suspicion, with clarity. You sense when energy does not belong. You feel when words carry weight beyond sound. You recognize when silence is guidance, not confusion. This is not intuition waking up. This is intuition stabilized. Here is the truth that anchors this entire journey. God does not protect you by isolating you from people. He protects you by teaching you how to stay whole among them. You are no longer impressed by attention. You are no longer influenced by proximity. You are no longer distracted by comparison. That is maturity. The jealous man from earlier parts of this story is no longer a figure. He is a lesson that has already served its purpose. And lessons that complete themselves do not return. From here forward, you will notice something subtle but powerful. Your presence sets the tone. Your calm changes rooms. Your clarity makes intentions visible. Not because you control situations, but because you are no longer controlled by them. This is where peace becomes leadership. You lead your life without force, without explanation, without urgency. Things align faster now, not louder, cleaner. What belongs with you stays. What does not quietly fades. No tension, no confusion, no residue. That is the sign that protection has fully integrated. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding with awareness. And awareness does not rush. It recognizes. This is the version of you that jealousy cannot reach, that confusion cannot distract, that resistance cannot slow. Not because you built walls, but because you became centered. And centered people move forward without losing themselves. Stay here. This is the position from which everything meaningful unfolds. This is where everything becomes effortless. Not because life suddenly removes challenges, but because nothing unnecessary has permission anymore. You are no longer guarded. You are grounded. That difference changes everything. There was a time when protection felt like something external, something you hoped for, something you waited on. Now it lives within you. You do not question your instincts. You do not doubt your timing. You do not. Second, guess the feeling that tells you when to move and when to remain still. That is inner authority. Here is the final revelation that completes this entire journey. Jealousy cannot follow clarity. It only follows confusion. And you are no longer confused. You know who you are without announcing it. You know where you are going without explaining it. You know what belongs with you without forcing it. That certainty reshapes your future. From this point on, your life will feel cleaner. Not louder. Not busier. Cleaner. Fewer distractions. Fewer emotional detours. Fewer moments where you feel pulled away from yourself. That is the reward of awareness. People who enter your life now will feel aligned, not curious. Supportive, not observant. Present, not competitive. Because your energy no longer invites comparison. It invites respect. You did not become distant. You became selective. You did not close your heart. You strengthened it. You did not lose softness. You learned where to place it. This is the version of you that moves forward without resistance, that grows without interference, that stays peaceful without effort. And nothing that once watched you closely can follow you here. Not because it was blocked, but because it no longer matches who you are. Carry this state with you, not as a lesson, but as a foundation. Because from here on, your